Welcome, I'm Jon Caldara, president of the Independence Institute and your devil's advocate, reminding you that the television camera adds 10 pounds and there's like 5-6 cameras here, so you do the frickin' math, will you? Later on in the program, we're going to be taking a look at a union bill. Should union members be able to quit the union when they want? Teachers, friends of teachers, tune in for that. But first, you know him, you love him. He's the chairman of the Republican Party, Ryan Call.
Jon, always great to be with you. Thanks for having me on again.
Yeah. All right, let's get down. I want to talk a little bit about Colorado and it being the place. Would you agree that the presidential race could very well come down to this swing state?
Absolutely. Colorado is going to be probably one of 5 targeted states. You look at Florida, you look at Indiana, you look at Virginia, North Carolina, and then you look at Colorado.
For our 9 little votes? That's it, 9 little votes, and it comes down to that.
Virtually every path to the nomination that the president has outlined, as well as the Republican nominee has outlined, Colorado figures pretty prominently in it. We understand that it's a swing state. It has always been, and while we've typically gone for the Republican candidate nationally, we've always been pretty independent-minded as voters out here, and so we're going to have to work really hard to win it, and I'm optimistic that we can.
Yeah, that's good Republic. That's good old. Let's try it this way. They will be raising a ton of money. The Republican Party is not known for its organizational skills or its motivational skills. The last time we voted Democrat was in 2008. Obama won, I think, pretty handily over McCain.
Yeah, by about 8 points.
Yeah. Before that, Clinton's first run, he took the state. His second run, he did not. And it really comes down to a few different categories. And it seems as though everyone agrees unaffiliated female voters are the target demographic. Everyone, thus the manufactured war on women, those nasty Republicans. Republicans don't do well with unaffiliated women. Why?
Sometimes, but you're right. The suburban women vote is critical. It's where recent candidates for the U.S. Senate fell short in terms of those numbers, but other Republican candidates have done very well among those demographics. And so part of it is the message, part of it is the way that message is delivered, and part of it is keeping the message focused on those issues that are really important and not allowing ourselves to get distracted by divisive issues that are just not important. And I think that's why I'm excited about the upcoming election, Jon, is because this election is going to be about big things, about the direction of the country, about debt and spending, the role of government. If it becomes about small things, then I think Republicans are at risk of losing.
What would be a small thing? What kind of small thing?
I think small things like making it personal, making it about pettiness, about negative personal attacks. I think if the election comes down to issues, divisive social issues, that's not going to win the election.
Well, let's go back a couple years. Mm-hmm. The Ken Buck race was an amazing race. Here we have the incumbent who never ran for a race ever. Ivy League elitist, he didn't know how to campaign, doesn't really connect well with people. And you got Ken Buck who did, but towards the end of that race, unaffiliated women voters and some Republican women voters were dropping off like flies. I mean, that's where he lost that election. Yeah. Why? What did he do?
Well, I think part of it was he didn't keep that message focused on the economy, about job creation, about education, about the things that most Colorado voters, and particularly suburban women, care about. The Democrats also did a masterful job of inventing this controversy, this war on women that you've seen most recently try to play out. What's been interesting is as President Obama and the Democrats today have been trying to create that narrative, it hasn't been selling. And the Republican Party, I think, has done a very good job.
Has it not been? I mean, let's go back to the last war on women issue, which I thought was masterful from the Obama team, which was the contraceptive issue. I mean, that was manufactured and it was beautiful. It was made. I mean, they had a year and a half to come up with this ruling. They do it now so that the Republican candidates for president trip over each other to be more socially conservative, which does nothing but turn off that target demographic of unaffiliated suburban women.
Right. Well, that issue,
and we played right into it. And not only that, Rush Limbaugh becomes the best useful idiot and drives it even further. I mean, we are masters of alienating that demographic.
Well, and maybe that's another example of making it, rather than about big issues, making it about small issues. The big issue there was the question of religious liberty, about the government telling not only religious organizations but private employers and persons what kind of health care insurance they have to pay for, even if it violates questions of moral conscience. That's what the issue was really about. The Democrats were able to at least attempt to try to make it about those smaller issues of are we trying to ban contraceptives, which is not what the issue was about.
All right. There's going to be legal issues as well. I foresee a possibility, hopefully it won't happen, that Colorado becomes the Florida of 2012. And I don't know if we've got the machinery ready for that, where it's too close to call and all of a sudden we're finding ballots in grandma's basement. They were there, the government was supposed to deliver it, but it didn't happen. And soldiers in Iraq, absentee ballots are popping up there. Is the machinery ready to handle being in the national spotlight for the next 6 months?
I think it is. We have a very good Republican Secretary of State who gets these issues, who understands and is working right now to try to anticipate them. We also understand that the Democrats and their liberal allies like Common Cause and Ethics Watch and other groups like that are going to try to do everything that they can to try to weaken those protections in terms of the conduct of our elections. The Colorado Republican Party already has been very actively engaged in making sure that the standards are high and that we can have an election run with great confidence and with integrity.
So you say now?
Well, again, the Republican Party wants to make it easier for people to vote, but harder to cheat. Our political opponents want the opposite.
You and I have had this debate many times about the party. And let me put out my assertion. The party's dead, all right? It's dead. Now, it seems to me that the party needs to play a functionary role, that is, to decide who's going to be on the ballot, running the caucuses, then the assemblies and the state assembly, and then having a primary and deciding in each seat which Republican is going to be on the line. Right now, of course, all the state House and half the state Senate, the Republicans will be playing a role in that. But when it comes to running the campaign, thanks to campaign finance reform, what can the party do? Now that most of the funding, the candidate can't see, can't touch, with independent expenditures, 527, C4 organizations, these are all ways for the race to be run by somebody else. I'm looking at all the good guys you've recruited, and the same thing on the Democratic side, but they can't even run their own damn race because they're not allowed to see the money.
Well, it's a couple of things. First off, you're right. The party plays an operational and functional role of nominating or designating candidates to the ballot. We play a long-term strategic role in recruiting better quality candidates to run and providing the training and support for them. But I also think the party plays an important role with respect to messaging. When Barack Obama was here in town to talk about student loans, it's the Republican Party who gets up there with a clear and articulate voice and criticizing the president for his weak policies and talking about how they've actually hurt young people and they can't get jobs upon graduation. That ability to speak with clarity and on behalf of Republicans from the top of the ticket all the way down is a powerful voice. But the other aspect of it is actually as a result of some campaign finance limits. The Republican Party is the only organization out there that can effectively coordinate with the candidates, that can organize the grassroots, boots on the ground for the conservative side. The left has...
Let me see if I understand it. You're saying technically speaking, because thanks to campaign finance reform in this state, Amendment 27, which is, I think, Article 28. Article 28 in the state constitution now, candidates can't talk to anybody who does advertising for them. So if there is some other committee, a 527, or some rich guy who wants to do an independent expenditure, they can't talk to him. They can't talk to other candidates. They can't talk to anyone. They can talk to the party.
They can talk to the party, and they can also coordinate with the party when it comes to mobilizing the grassroots and the volunteer effort. Now, the Democrats...
What grassroots and volunteer effort?
We're
Republicans.
The Democrats...
We're watching television. We're not out occupying streets. We have manners. That doesn't happen.
Well, and that's the difference, is we are going to win this election because we're able to mobilize those volunteers. The left long outsourced their boots-on-the-ground effort to the labor unions and the environmental movement and outside organizations. Their party is equally
But doesn't that work? I mean, let's play this. Yes, they've outsourced it to the unions and to the enviros.
That's right.
They win big when their team wins. So teachers' unions and all the other unions, the environmental folks, they will do the grunt work, the boots on the ground work, and that's a tough, awful work. It's knocking on doors, it's making phone calls.
No, it's not fun. It's not sexy.
Ugly work.
It's a lot of work.
But they get paid for it. That is, when their guy wins, they get more job security, more benefits, everything. They need that to win. Our guys, they're working. They're taking care of their kids. It's not like we make really good foot soldiers.
And that's part of why I think the Republican Party is going to be strong in the upcoming election, because in this election, it's those moms, those folks that are worried about their family. They are going to be coming out, and they're already starting to. In terms of in fact, I'm really excited that the state Republican Party, for the first time, is starting to open up some of these campaign headquarters quite a bit earlier. And in fact, this week, we're opening up the first headquarters in Arapahoe County. By the 1st of May, we will have 4 functioning campaign offices open in the state to organize.
Amazingly, I mean, you're modernizing, and I've heard that even some of those actually have push-button phones now instead of the old rotary dial ones.
They do. Well, we actually...
Welcome to the 1970s.
It's not just that, it's also call from home technology. It's integrated with Facebook and social media. The party is using tools and techniques that we haven't ever before, and on a scale that we haven't before. The Republican Party of Colorado is stronger, better funded, and better organized than we've been in years.
There's still this fight that I always have felt, many of us have felt, between fiscal conservatives, me, that we're worried about the size and scope of government, and social conservatives, which I think particularly turn off that earlier demographic we were talking about, unaffiliated suburban women. There's always seems to be this pull between social conservatives and fiscal conservatives. Is it alive and well, or do we realize we've got to come together this year?
I think we're realizing that we do have to come together. That coalition.
Why did I think you're going to say that?
Well, it is because that coalition of social conservatives, fiscal conservatives, this new activist-oriented, liberty-minded movement, they are all finding a welcome home within the Colorado Republican Party. We may not agree on everything 100%, but on the things that are important, we do agree. And most importantly, we agree that we can't afford 4 more years of Barack Obama.
Barack Obama's race will have a huge impact on all the other races you're dealing with. That's everybody in the state House, the state Senate, and of course, 7 Senate districts for Congress. That has to go well, doesn't it?
It sure does. Colorado finds itself this year in kind of an interesting position. We don't have a United States Senate candidate. We don't have a governor's candidate, any other real statewide races of any consequence. And so this election is largely going to be a referendum about Barack Obama and the direction of the national government. We've got Barack Obama at the top of the ticket, the Republican candidate for president, and then we have 7 candidates that are running in these congressional districts. If we win Mike Kaufman's district for the Republican candidate, we win the state. If we win Scott Tipton's district for the 3rd congressional on the Western Slope, we win the state. If we knock off Ed Perlmutter with a great candidate in Joe Coors, we win the state for the Republican nominee for president. That's where those key swing districts, especially in the suburbs of Aurora and Adams County and Jefferson County and in Arapahoe County, are going to decide the difference and make the difference in connection with the upcoming election. And that's where I'm really excited. We have exceptional candidates running, John. Mike Kaufman is remarkable, a man of great uncommon courage, great deep roots in the community there in Aurora, a Marine who is one of a handful of vets that are serving in the Congress, a great candidate to run in the district that now represents Buckley. To run Joe Coors in the district that has Golden in it is not a bad fit. Not only is he a great businessman, but deep and committed connections with the community.
And if they do well, the state does well.
That's right.
All right. Ryan, best of luck. Stay tuned.